What if our most ancient myths are not myths at all? What if they are memories, faint echoes of a world lost to time, a world that our ancestors knew? I speak of places like Atlantis and the Garden of Eden. We have been taught to see these as mere stories, as allegories for children. But what if they were real places? What if they were home to a great civilization, a mother culture that understood the secrets of the universe? A civilization that was destroyed by a global cataclysm, a great flood that swept the earth clean. And what if, in the aftermath, the survivors tried to pass their knowledge down to us, a warning and a promise for future generations? These survivors, these messengers from a drowned world, would have been seen as gods. They were the bringers of civilization. They taught humanity how to farm, how to build, how to read the stars. They shared fragmented pieces of their profound wisdom, like scattered jewels from a broken crown. This knowledge was too complex, too advanced for the primitive cultures that received it. So it was simplified. It was turned into myths, into religious doctrines, into sacred rituals. The core truths were wrapped in layers of symbolism, waiting for a future time when we would be ready to understand them once more. This is why we see the same themes appearing in cultures separated by vast oceans and thousands of years. Think of the flood myths found all over the world, from the story of Noah in the Bible to the epic of Gilgamesh in Mesopotamia, from the Manu legend in India to the tales of the Maya and the Aztecs. Are these all separate inventions? Or are they the shared traumatic memory of a single global event? The evidence suggests the latter. These stories are not just tales of destruction, they are also tales of survival and rebirth. They speak of a handful of wise individuals who were saved, who carried the seeds of knowledge from the former world into our own. A sacred inheritance. This inheritance is the key. It is the thread that connects the dots of our ancient past. It points to a forgotten chapter in human history, a time when we lived in harmony with the cosmos, when we understood our place in the grand design. The legends of Atlantis and Eden are not just about a lost paradise. They are about a lost state of consciousness, a higher level of being that we have forgotten. The clues to rediscovering this state are all around us. They are hidden in plain sight, encoded in the world's oldest monuments, myths, and sacred texts. We only need to learn how to look. Who were these mysterious messengers? Ancient texts describe them with reverence. The Egyptians called them the Shemsu Hor, the followers of Horus. The Sumerians spoke of the Apkallu, wise beings who came from the sea. In the Andes, the god Viracocha appeared after the flood to rebuild the world. These figures are always described as teachers, as civilizer heroes. They brought the gifts of agriculture, law, architecture, and astronomy to a struggling humanity. They were the architects of the first great civilizations that suddenly emerged from the Stone Age with incredible sophistication, a sudden leap forward that mainstream history cannot explain. They carried a universal wisdom, a science of the soul and the stars, but they could not simply hand it over. The people of that time were not ready, so they broke the knowledge down into smaller, more manageable pieces. They created allegories and symbols that could be passed down through generations. These symbols became the foundation of our religions and mythologies. The serpent, for example, is often seen as a symbol of evil in the West, but in many other cultures, it represents wisdom, healing, and cosmic energy. Could the serpent in the Garden of Eden have been a symbol for this sacred, secret knowledge? This is why we find such stunning similarities between different belief systems. The story of a dying and resurrecting God, for instance, is not unique to Christianity. We see it in the story of Osiris in Egypt, Tammuz in Mesopotamia, and Quetzalcoatl in Mesoamerica. These are not copies of each other. They are different cultural interpretations of the same core concept. A concept that likely originated from a single, much older source. A source that understood the cyclical nature of life, death, and rebirth, both on a personal level and on a cosmic scale. A truth shared by the messengers. The purpose of this shared wisdom was not to create dogma or division, it was to guide us. It was a roadmap left for us to follow. Each myth, each religious story, holds a piece of the puzzle. The problem is that over time, we have forgotten the original meaning. We have started to worship the symbols instead of understanding the truth they point to. We fight over the broken fragments of a once unified truth. The challenge for us today is to look past the surface level differences and rediscover the common thread that binds all these ancient traditions together, the wisdom of the lost world. The seven wonders of the ancient world are more than just a list of impressive structures. What if they were a deliberate message, a curriculum in stone and bronze built by those who inherited the Atlantean wisdom? Each wonder was not just an architectural marvel. It was a physical representation of a profound spiritual lesson, a key to unlocking a higher state of being. These were not tourist attractions. They were centers of initiation, places where one could learn one of the seven great secrets of the universe. The civilization that inspired them knew that empires fall and books burn, but that great stone structures can endure for millennia. The Great Pyramid of Giza is the first and only surviving wonder. It is a lesson in precision, alignment, and harmony with the cosmos. It represents the foundation of all knowledge, understanding our place in the universe. The Hanging Gardens of Babylon symbolize the mastery of nature, the ability to create paradise on earth through harmony with the natural world. It teaches us about cultivating our inner world, just as we cultivate a garden. The Temple of Artemis at Ephesus was a tribute to the divine feminine, to intuition, and the cycles of life. It reminds us of the power of creation and the importance of balance between masculine and feminine energies. The statue of Zeus at Olympia was a representation of divine order and justice. It was a lesson in spiritual authority and the power of a focused will. It taught that true power comes from within, from aligning ourselves with a higher moral law. The mausoleum at Halicarnassus was a grand tomb, but its lesson was about overcoming the fear of death. It symbolized transcendence, the understanding that consciousness continues beyond the physical body. It was a monument to the eternal nature of the soul. These were not just buildings, they were physical metaphors for a spiritual journey that all of humanity must take. Finally, we have the Colossus of Rhodes and the Lighthouse of Alexandria. The Colossus, a giant statue of the sun god Helios, stood astride a harbor. It represents the perfected human, a bridge between heaven and earth, a master of their own domain. The Lighthouse of Alexandria, the last of the wonders to be built, symbolized enlightenment. Its light guided ships safely to shore, just as inner wisdom guides the soul through the dark waters of ignorance. It was the ultimate symbol of the entire project, to bring the light of knowledge to the world, to illuminate the path for all who seek it. How does this connect to the Book of Revelation? The book speaks of a scroll sealed with 7 seals. When these seals are broken, it leads to a series of apocalyptic events, but ultimately to the creation of a new heaven and a new earth. What if the 7 seals are not about future destruction, but about unlocking ancient knowledge? What if breaking a seal means understanding the lesson of one of the 7 wonders? To understand the Great Pyramid is to break the first seal. To understand the Hanging Gardens is to break the second, and so on. The apocalypse is not the end of the world, but the end of ignorance, a revelation of truth. Each wonder, each key unlocks a part of our forgotten potential. The pyramid awakens our cosmic awareness. The gardens teach us to create our own reality. The Temple of Artemis reconnects us with our intuition. The statue of Zeus gives us self-mastery. The mausoleum frees us from the fear of death. The Colossus shows us our potential for greatness. And the lighthouse illuminates our mind with true wisdom. By consciously understanding and integrating these 7 lessons, we collectively break the seals. We trigger a transformation in human consciousness, a great awakening that has been prophesied for millennia. This is the path back to Eden. Eden was never just a physical place, it was a state of being, a state of harmony, wisdom, and high consciousness that our species once possessed and is destined to reclaim. The messengers of Atlantis did not just leave us monuments of stone, they left us a map. A step-by-step guide to rebuilding paradise, not in some distant location, but right here on Earth, and most importantly, within ourselves. The 7 wonders and the 7 seals are 2 sides of the same coin. One is the physical lesson, the other is the spiritual initiation. The quest for this lost knowledge is the great adventure of our time. It requires us to become archaeologists of the soul, to dig through the layers of myth and dogma to find the bedrock of truth. The answers are not out there in space, but here, in our own past, hidden in the symbols our ancestors left for us. The future of humanity may depend on our ability to decipher this ancient message, to unseal the wisdom of the ages, and in doing so, to finally remember who we are and unlock the paradise that has been waiting for us all along. The journey has already begun.